Fed had a huge announcement about whether to taper or not taper. And I know you guys may be sick about hearing about this stuff, but before you write off this show, let me tell you something real quick that may keep you around just for another few minutes. The Fed is the housing market, period. They have been, they are now, and they will continue to be for the foreseeable future, period. The Fed is the housing market.
So when the Fed speaks, those in the housing market should sit up and take notice. Everyone. LOs, realtors, title support staff, appraisers, every freaking one.
Sweet, got your attention? Let's roll. So we've said for a while now that it would be really hard for the Fed to actually taper their bond buying program. We've said it's sorely needed, but we really couldn't see the market sustaining an actual taper. The whispers of it over the past several months have slowed the recovery down and pushed rates even higher.
So fast forward to last week and the Fed. Wouldn't you know it, the Fed came out and said they would not taper. And if we're getting a little too technical here, let's just say that that's great news for real estate.
At least for the immediate future. Who knows the lasting effects it'll have on all of us, but for the time being, it will keep rates low for home buyers, it'll keep investors in the game, and it'll continue to help the overall housing market.
So we know the result of the decision, but why did they make that decision? Why not taper? They wanted to so badly.
This is where it gets interesting. Stick around, you're going to want to see this and probably share it. So why would the Fed go against what they said and have dreamed about doing? Why would they continue to print money out of thin air and buy mortgage bonds? Why couldn't they pull the plug when they wanted to so badly?
Well, for one thing, did you know the 2012 census figures were recently released? And wouldn't you know it, household income is at its lowest level since 1989.
Talk about a lost decade of income. That's a lost generation of income. That's the worst level in almost 25 years. That's a crazy stat right there.
Now let's talk about the Fed being the end-all be-all right now. Let's put their work into perspective with a little graph.
Here's job growth over the past 5 years. And here's the Fed's balance sheet growth. Yeah, pretty shocking, huh? If the housing market were one of those blow-up thingies you see in front of the car dealerships, the Fed is and has been the air that blows it up every day. Yeah, but Ryan, I still don't believe that the Fed is the housing market.
Okay, let's just look at the facts. The Fed's buying program is the sole reason rates are low. But on top of that, we now know income levels are the worst they've been in 25 years.
And on top of that, we just saw our anemic job growth. So who's buying these houses? Aha! Talked about a few weeks ago, investors. That's who.
Sure, there's still some traditional sales out there, but take a look. Cash sales still dominate the landscape. In some cases, in our hottest cities, they represent over half of all transactions.
52% in Vegas, 44% in Phoenix, 53% in Orlando, 73% in Florida, and a third of the sales in our biggest market, California. See, the Fed's strategies make it easy for hedge funds to leverage money and pour it back into the housing market. You know what that results in?
That results in 50% of the income generated in 2012 going to the top 10% of earners in America. That's the highest level since the early 1900s.
Here's the deal. When writing the show, I struggled on how to end it. What do we do with all this knowledge? What's my point? I honestly don't really know what to do with all this info.
We know it's important, and we, being in the housing industry, should be educated about it. But what do we do with the knowledge?
I'm not certain, but here's our final statement. If you guys have some insight about how we should use all of this moving forward, please let us know down below. As for us, this is our takeaway. The real estate game has completely shifted from a stale, boring play that tracked inflation to a boom and bust cycle that is fully dependent on the will of the Fed.
If this is the case, the Fed pulling back even a little bit is enormous, and we should all take note.
The traditional buyer that you and I know, the normal buyers, they're largely becoming renters, mainly because low rates have done very little to help out regular families. The big winners, as we pointed out today, are the large investors. Know your market and know who is and who is not pulling the strings. That's all we have for today. Please share your conclusions down below, and we love hearing from you all. See you next week.
And all my people say